Mark's motivational podcast, Another Author's Tuesday. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by another great children's author, Krista Coyne. She's living in Connemara, and it's great. And I'm looking forward to talking to Krista all about her writing and her books, her great books that she has out. So, Krista, you're very welcome along to the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, you're it's very welcome. So, yeah, so just to ask you there, can you tell the listeners about the books you've written, please, and a little bit about yourself as well? It'd be great. Thanks, Krista.
Yeah, well, I was teaching for a very long time. I'm from California, moved to Ireland a few years back. And so yeah, I was doing that for a very long time. So obviously I've had a lot of experience with reading children's books. And I just kind of had the idea and inspiration from, I think, from my teacher days and decided to I just wanted to step out and try becoming an author and writing books that are based on my four girls.
Yeah, that's great because have you always been a writer? Where did the start the journey start? Because you said you were a teacher for many years.
Yeah.
So when did you start writing? When did you start writing your first book? Your
Well, I think I've sort of always liked writing. Um I always remember back in high school and in college I did a lot of journaling. I even took a stab at writing a few poems in my journals. So I kind of have always loved writing and kind of getting my thoughts out. And and then I just, from being a teacher, I, just kind of had always this thought that I wanted to be able to read my own book that I had written for my students. And I didn't really put it into action until much later in my teaching career. So probably about, I'd say about 7 years ago, I just decided, okay, I want to do this. I want to write a children's book. And a really good family friend of mine, I kind of told him my ideas and that I wanted to write. And he just said, you know what, just think about your ideas and just write a little bit every day. And then before you know it, you'll have a book. So that's just kind of how I started my writing journey.
yeah, that's great. And would you say that like the kids that you taught gave you a lot of inspiration when you started your writing?
Yeah, I really love children's books. I probably am a bit of a collector, especially, with my classroom library, and I just love the vivid colors and the illustrations and I love doing read alouds with kids, with students. Sometimes I'll do it in the library or different shops or in the schools around, and I love doing that. And so I think I just wanted to have something of my own that I could share as well.
Yeah, that's great, Krista. And you say that like you started like did you start after you retired from teaching, or was it during you were when you were teaching, Krista?
It was still while I was teaching.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and would you like, I suppose kids are great to give you feedback, would you have told the kids you were teaching at the time your stories, and how would they have um reacted to that, and with a lot of great feedback,
Yeah.
would say?
No, I definitely used my students as my beta readers
Yeah, yeah.
and my own children as well. I'd kind of read them bits of pieces of it, and, kind of see what kind of reaction I would get out of them. I remember the first time I ever kind of shared it with my students and with my kids, it was just like a Word document printed out. So there was no illustrations or anything. So it was kind of fun, to read that to them. But I also gave them the opportunity, to tell me, okay, what kind of illustration would you have um, go along with this scene in the book? And I even had them draw up their own illustrations to give me ideas. So it was kind of fun to have them a part of that. And, it being about my girls, they were excited to see what I had to say.
Yeah, yeah, great stuff. Yeah, because that leads nicely on to the next question. Can you tell the listeners the books you've written? Is it one book, or is there a few books out there that you've written? Because I know it's Curly. the one of the one of
Yeah.
the books is called
Yeah,
Curly Hair.
Girls
Cur-
with Curls.
Girls, of
Yeah.
course, that's right.
Yeah.
Great name, yeah. Great stuff.
Yeah. So, yep, I've written 2 books so far. The first one is called Girls with Curls: A True Tales of Girls with Curly Hair, and the other one is called Hair Bear: A Tale of um, Curly Hair Love. And they're both based on, I have 4 daughters, so they're both based on that. And basically, the idea around Girls with Curls came with, came from me and my girls, and just thinking about that morning routine, trying to get them out the door for school. And we always had questions and comments about our hair, and how do you take care of your hair. Oh, people just would always want to touch it, or I don't know, they just always had questions and things that they wanted to comment. And so one day I just thought, as I'm sitting there, they're all lined up, um I thought, what if someone was a fly on the wall in our house and they watched our morning routine? I wonder what they would think. And so then the idea kind of came, well, you know what? I'm going to write a book about this so people can kind of have a little glimpse and see, what it is like to have curly hair. And each of us have different curls, including myself. So there's a little bit of a different process to every child. So that's kind of what Girls with Curls is about. It's just kind of, not only is it a story about your hair and your curls and introducing some people to life with curly hair, but it's also kind of about acceptance and being unique and loving your hair. Yeah. And Hair Bear is kind of a spin-off of Girls with Curls. When I first started writing the book, I was pregnant with my 4th girl, and so we all were kind of curious about what is she going to look like, what kind of hair is she going to have, is it going to be really curly, kind of curly. So Girls with Curls kind of ended with a little bit of, like, I guess, a snippet into what the next book might be. I didn't have it written, but I kind of had the idea in my head because I knew I wanted this girl to be in it. I knew I had to write another book to include this girl. And so it's a bit of a different take and perspective, where she, you know, loves her curls, and she's wondering why her sisters don't feel the same way. And she wants to show them, why and how she loves her curls. And, she's a little bit more confident in that, where her sisters weren't so much. So, yeah, a bit about the 2 books.
Yeah. Yeah, lots of inspiration in your house for the books
Yeah,
with your
yeah.
four
At least
girls, yeah.
one's was about curls.
Yeah, great stuff. And I love the way you kind of say it really kind of helps the self-esteem. You kind of go towards that. Would you like to talk about that a little bit? Like the way you've done that, like it kind of helps girls build their self-esteem. Would you go out and
Yeah.
saying that?
Well, with Girls with Curls, like I said, I was really kind of at first going for basically people allowing people to have little glimpse of our world with curls, is what I kind of say. Um, but I think as I, was finishing the book and then going through all the edits and the illustrations, I kind of and then just also researching about um Black authors and representation of, you know, kids, you know, different kinds of kids. I thought, you know what, this book is more than just about, a silly book that we can laugh at about getting our hair done in the morning. We can all relate to that, but there's a bigger lesson here. And so that's kind of where I realized, and I saw my own self a lot in the characters as well, like, just going through life, you know figuring out how to do my hair. But it also had a lot to do with me, being okay with having curly hair, being okay with, my hair not being, waking up out of bed having good bed hair and all that. So, you know your hair, even though it's your hair, it still has a lot to do with, your how you feel about yourself. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, you explained that really well. Thanks a lot for that, Krista. Um, can I just ask as well? Have you got them books to show people are gonna that be watching on YouTube? Will you?
Yeah.
Great, thanks very much.
So here's Girls with Curls.
Right, that's great. The
So
illustrations are great. The cover is really good.
yeah, I had a really good illustrator. She was really good, and she got my concept or visually represented exactly what I wanted in the books. So she did both books actually. Her name was is Tuvu, and the other book is Hair Bear. So she's the one who loves her curls.
Yeah, yeah, great stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the two.
Would you mind maybe reading the description for people that are listening and watching as well, Krista? Just off
The
the book.
description?
Yeah, please. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
Girls with Curls, the true tales of girls with curly hair. Basically, it says, do you run the other way when someone tries to brush your hair? The girls in this house do. Come and join the fun in this world of curls. Although living with curls isn't always easy, these girls learn to embrace what they have and prove that there is never a dull moment from dad's stylish unicorn ponytails to crazy hair day at school. So
That's
that's,
brilliant. That's great. Yeah, yeah.
yep.
And can you show people if you don't mind just the inside of the book, the artwork,
Yeah.
please, Krista? Thank you.
Let's see here. Let me find a good page. This is a good page that represents the family. And that's the thing with our family, we're all a bit different. So that's kind of why um I like the theme about, self-love and, accepting your differences. And um one of the things that I kind of talk about in one of the books is two of the girls are comparing their curls to each other. And, one of them likes one sister's curls better than the other, but in the end, she kind of learns that, her everyone loves her curls too. They're always commenting on her curls or wanting to touch her hair. So she kind of realizes that, what, my curls aren't so bad. I should like them too.
Right. Yeah.
So
Great messages in the book. Yeah, really good. And the illustrations are
yeah.
great, aren't they? Really good.
Yep. So there's some fun ones with them trying to comb their hair,
Yeah,
what they look like when they wake up in the morning.
great. Yeah, I remember that
Yeah.
time with my daughter as well. She was the same. Years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
One of
yeah.
our one of our favorites is this one when she's getting her hair combed and
Oh yeah,
yelling.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Great stuff. Yeah. So that's the
Yep. And
first one.
then,
And you want to show the second one as well, please, Krista? That'd be great. Too.
yeah. So here's Hair Bear. And remember, she's in love with her curls. So show you a few pages here. So she kind of talks about how she's from, you know, a family of curls. She still gets up out of bed with
Yeah,
with curls all over her head, but she talks about what a hair bear is. And then she just kind of goes through and she shares how she loves her curls. Um, she kind of goes through and talks about how her sisters have such a hard time loving her curls, but
yeah,
she
yeah.
still loves hers anyway. So there she is, her sisters are not so happy, but
Mm.
she finds a way to love her curls.
That's great, isn't it? Yeah, brilliant. Well done. And what
So
would
like,
the kind of point of the book is to kind of make other children kind of accept the way they are? Would that make sense, Krista?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
to love themselves
yeah.
and
Exactly.
to,
Yeah,
kind of what they have that they love about themselves, let it shine,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. Oh, that's great. Thanks a lot for sharing. The books look amazing, and the illustration is great when you find a good illustrator like that, isn't it, Krista? That
Oh yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah, yeah. Great stuff.
I'd say that's probably this one of the scariest parts about um writing a book. If you're not an illustrator yourself, just trying to find somebody who kind of understands what you're trying to show or represent in your books.
Yeah, exactly. No, well done. You've done a great job on that. Yeah, great stuff. And I can ask you as well, Krista, did you self-publish your books, or did you get a publisher to do it?
I went the self-publishing route.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And how was that experience for you?
It was tough. It was definitely a steep learning curve. I learned a lot. Um, but I, you know, when I had finished the book, I really kind of was like, what do I do next? Okay, I've written it, it's on Word. What do I do now? Do I
Yeah.
just print it out and see what happens? How do I actually make this into an actual book? And so, that came with a lot of research. I read some books. I went online and researched and stuff. And, I spoke to a hybrid publisher, but, when I spoke to them and they were telling me I had to pay so much money in order to get my book published and get them to market it and all the things, I realized that I have to pay somebody to
Yeah.
to
Okay. Yeah.
So I obviously I didn't know. And and then just researching traditional publishers, I read that it could be years before somebody decides to pick up my book. And even then, they might change a lot of things about it. And I didn't want to wait that long. And then the idea of, somebody, I guess, changing it to fit what they thought or how they thought it should be. I kind of wanted to keep the creative control of that. So yeah, then I decided that self-publishing would be the fastest and best way for me to get my book out there.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there because you have full control over the book when you're self-published. And what avenues have you explored for marketing your book, um, Krista, being
Yeah,
a
that's
self-publisher?
that's probably also a, a more challenging thing for me is the marketing because I feel
Yeah,
like
okay.
I'm more of the creative person. I'm not a salesperson.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I put my books on Amazon, but actually I should back up a little bit. In order because it can be quite expensive to publish a book. And I knew when I published a book that I actually wanted to have inventory. So that's some expense that you have to incur up front. And so I did do Kickstarter campaigns for both of my books. So that really helped with marketing, kind of get the word out. And even after the Kickstarter campaigns, people were still finding out about my book. So that meant more people were coming back to me, ordering books. But then eventually I did put them on Amazon. Um, I am in touch with, some different people who do kind of pop-up bookshops around or, different markets. So small kind of vendors or small bookshops. I have my books in, but I'm still working on that. So that's still kind of a work in progress, just really trying to get my book out there and market it. And it takes a lot of time. So
And what exactly is Kickstart, please, Krista, for people that are listening, please? I haven't heard of
yeah.
it myself.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm.
So Kickstarter is a crowdfunding campaign. And I guess you can think of it sort of like a GoFundMe, um, but Kickstarter has to be something creative, something that you've actually made and you want people to kind of, I guess, front money for you. And so basically, you can do it like I think the first time I did it, I actually I had the book completely finished, but I needed the help with both books. With printing was my biggest thing. So basically, people donate, but they don't. But what I did was have them donate, and in return, as a reward, they would get books or other things to do with the books, like stickers and bookmarks and things like that.
Mhm.
And then people can choose. You have your different reward levels, and they can choose the reward level that they want to pledge at, and so they can give you money from there. Sometimes people choose to just donate. Sometimes people or just pledge an amount, or some people choose a certain tier, but they pledge more. Um, so it is a bit of a nerve-wracking thing, just because you don't get the money unless you've met your pledge.
I get you.
So
Yeah.
there is a bit of work in that. You have to make, obviously a really good campaign, um, and spread the word constantly. Um, people probably were annoyed, constantly reminding them, "Are you going to pledge? Don't forget to pledge." So yeah, but that is a very helpful way if you are kind of just starting out, and especially self-publishing, and if you want to have inventory, because I wanted to be able to sign my books and actually physically hand people or send them books as well. So that was important to me. But otherwise, a lot of people just go through Amazon, but Amazon actually doesn't work so well for self-publishers here in Ireland. So
Oh, no, that's really great. Thanks a lot for sharing that, Krista. That's really helpful for anybody that's listening who's a first time publisher or self publisher. That's great. Thanks so
yeah.
much for that. And can I just ask as well, what has been your biggest success in your writing so far? I know, like obviously, it's your two books that you've got published, but if you were to pinpoint something that you're really happy with that so far with your writing,
Yeah, that's really hard because automatically I
put in the
just
spot.
want to say just
Yeah,
getting the books out there really.
yeah, yeah.
You know, actually, I think when I feel most successful, because I can put the books out there, but when I hear back from people, and they tell me, how much they love the book or how much their daughter or son or grandchild, how much they enjoyed the book, that they want to read it every night, for story time. Um, that really that really sits well with me. That is kind of exactly what I wanted to do. And so I feel really successful in that sense when I hear those when people come back to me and share those things with me.
Oh, absolutely, that's great. And the way you mentioned Kickstart and the last question, did you get some like you must have got a lot of good feedback through that campaign? Would you like to talk about that, like that kind of success?
Yeah, well, um, I'd say that because they don't usually have the book before before they but when they pledge, and even when the campaign is over, um the people that donated or pledged, they still have to get the book. So I kind of send like sneak peeks and things. So I really don't have so much as a review before then. It's just, I guess it's more of creating the excitement.
Mhm.
And then there's the pressure to deliver, to deliver something good. But luckily, in that process, I did ask for reviews. And so people did come back to me and sent reviews, and so I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. And where can people get your book as well as Amazon? You're saying they're available in some small bookshops, is it?
Yeah, so around here in Connemara, there are a few local bookshops that people can get them in. Books at One, and where else? I can never say this name, Tertulia.
Right, yeah.
But they are on Amazon. You can uh get them in Ireland. There's a website called buythebook.ie. Um, you can purchase through there, or you can purchase them directly through me on my website as well, kristacoyne.com.
Right. Yeah, because
So
I'm
you
gonna
can find all the ways to purchase from there, really.
yeah, well, I'm going to share all your information on the show notes for people to check out. So everybody, make sure you check out Chris's work. It's really really good. And as well as that, can I ask you, like, what kind of strategy do you use with your writing? Like, a lot of people maybe write a certain amount of words a day, or what way do you work for yourself, Krista?
Well, I don't really have so much of a strategy. I'd say with the first book, um, I kind of just it was just all there, and I just kind of wrote a little bit. I just had the scenes in my head because I knew exactly, like, I paid a little more attention to what my girls said, what they did, you know, um, kind of yeah, kind of more about our life as it revolved around hair, and the ideas just flowed. And so that I guess I didn't really have a strategy for that because it was just there, and it was pretty easy. When I wrote Hair Bear, I kind of had to think more about that because it is somewhat of a spin-off from Girls with Curls, but I didn't want to repeat myself in, some of the ideas and scenes that were in that first book. So, I mean, I did have to, I had some ideas about what I wanted to be, what I wanted to write about in that book, or what I wanted that book to have in it. But I guess I kind of outline, I kind of write by scenes, like just as it appears to me, and the ideas appear to me. I basically just kind of write. Um, if I think of an idea in my head, or I see a scene in my head, or the way one of the characters might say something, I make sure I kind of write it down. And that's kind of what I did with Hair Bear. I just kind of, as things came to me, I made sure I wrote it down. And then I did have to work really closely with my editor, just kind of, she had to help me a little bit more with the developmental part of it in Hair Bear, just so there was kind of a story arc, as they say, and as the story flows, and there wasn't really, I guess, repeating scenes or themes of girls with curls. Um, but I think probably I'd have to, I do want to write more books, but I probably might have to be a little more strategic, or I just wait until I really have, like, you know, a good idea in my head, and then it just, if I have the idea, then I think the ideas would just flow, and then I can write them and then organize them as I'd like.
Yeah, you've got two great ideas there with your two new books, so your two books you've done so far, so well done. And can I ask you, the way with a strategy, I mean that, like, would you kind of write the words down first before you type them up, or what way would you do that? What do you find best for yourself, Krista?
Would I write them down? Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, usually, actually, I it could be any sort of way. I mean, if I'm at the computer, I might type them onto a document. Normally, my ideas do not come to me when I'm sitting at a computer. They come to me in the middle of the night. They come to me in the shower. They come to me
yeah, yeah,
when I'm driving. So, it's kind of like always having that phone, or, yeah, a journal nearby, so I can just, quickly scribble it down, and then and then I'll go back and write it or type it into a document or something.
yeah. That sounds like a really good strategy because, like, as you said, like, these things can come to you any stage, like, in the day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So there's not really, like, A, B, C, D.
yeah. But
I assume that if I'd like to write, like, children's chapter books. So I think that if I do conquer that, I would have to have a bit more of an outline kind of strategy to go with for that. But I don't know. I'd have to sort of research that first.
yeah, great stuff. Yeah. No, thanks very much. This has been great talking to you. Can I just ask you as well, Krista, what is next for yourself in your writing? And would you like to share for everyone what's next for yourself with your
Yeah.
writing, please?
I don't have anything that I'm currently working on. I do have, like I said, kind of when I have an idea, oh, that'd be a good idea for a book, I kind of quickly sort of write it down. Or so I have lots of little stories that I've sort of seen, a scene popped in my head, or a character popped in my head, and I might write a little something, jot something down. So I feel like I want to revisit those and see if any of those um can come to fruition, or but otherwise, I don't have anything in the pipeline yet, but I've been thinking that um, I'd like to get started on something else in the near future.
Yeah, no, I wish you all the success going forward. It's really great stuff you have there. And have you
Thank-
been to any libraries in Ireland? Yeah, have you approached any libraries to do readings for classes? Or is that something
Have
you've
I
done?
been to any libraries?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I actually just started working as a part-time branch librarian in our village here. So I am in that library. My books are in there. But not so much. When I moved to Ireland, I was just kind of starting to get a handle on Girls with Curls and getting that out there. It was just published. So that was 2021, and it was just published earlier in that year. So I feel like I'm just really trying to kind of find my way in Ireland now, and just, kind of slowly, figuring out how to get my books into different stores and into libraries. So hopefully, I have done readings in different bookshops and things and a few schools, but hopefully um, I'll be in more.
No, yeah. So wish you all the success going forward, Krista. It's been great talking to you on the podcast.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
yeah. I'm going to share all your work on the show notes if you send me all your links, and I can share it for everybody to check out.
Definitely. Thank you.
So, Krista Coyne, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining me on the podcast tonight, and thanks everybody for listening. And join me again next time for another podcast episode. Okay, thanks again, Krista.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
having me. Good
Thank you.
night.
Thank you. Bye bye. Hello, everyone. Mark here. Thank you for watching another episode of my Authors Tuesday podcast. I recently published a book of children's stories called The Adventures of Larry Lamppost and Friends. The book began life as bedtime stories I wrote for my own children. If you'd like to purchase my book, follow the link in the description box below. By buying my book, you are also supporting my podcast series for authors, which is giving a voice to writers in Ireland and across the world.